Okay guys, so what I just did there was played 3 examples of 1-4-5 bass progressions, but obviously I added a chord each time. So what I actually did was in the first progression, I just stuck with a 1, a 4, I came back to the 1, and then I went to the 5. Very standard. Of course, you can extrapolate that into various progressions, stretch bars out, there's 12 bar versions of it, etc. But I just kept that really short there so you can see your typical 3 chords you might use. The next thing I did was I added the 2 chord, which in this case, in the key of A, would be a B. And I played that as a dominant 7. And then we went across to the 5 chord, returned to the 1. Next time around, I actually went from the 1 chord to the 4 chord, came back to the 1 chord, and then I went to the 6 chord. Then we used the 2 chord, the 5 chord, and back to the 1 chord. So what are all these numbers? What is a 1-4-5? What is a 6-2-5-1? What are all these things? You probably know. You can probably work that out. It's fairly obvious, but doesn't hurt for me to explain it really quickly. We have the A major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, just quickly worth mentioning, in a blues, a lot of the time we don't actually use that 7. Okay, we use the flat 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7. But you can see by having the major scale template in place, we have the ability to refer to this note as something. We can call it a flat 7, and that is why it is so important to learn your major scales, guys. Folks, I should say. All inclusive here. So, what we've actually done here is we've used the 1, built a chord off it, and we've used a dominant 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, we pull it out of the major scale. The 4th degree is where we get our D from. And I chose to play a D9. You can vary that. And then, of course, the 5 is from an E. So when we play a chord from an E, that's our 5. Now, our 2 is obviously going to be A, B, chord from the B. And our 6 that I use later, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, I've got a 6 here, indeed, but I'm going to come up to here to play the actual chord. And I just used basically, like, think of a C7 chord, and I used that up there at the F sharp. So the 6th degree of the key of A is an F sharp, the 2nd degree is a B, the 5th degree is an E, and the 4th degree is a D. Okay? So we've taken a 1-4-5, and we've added a 2, and then we've added a 6, and it's ended up going 6, 2, 5, 1 in that particular progression. So these chords, the way that we're using them, particularly the 2nd degree and the 6th degree, we're really utilizing a thing called a secondary dominant. A secondary dominant basically just means a dominant 7 chord that is outside of the key of the progression that you're playing in. That came out really funny, but you get the idea. So, for example, in the regular key of A, an E dominant 7 would be a standard chord that wouldn't use any notes outside of our A major scale, okay? Okay, all those notes put together from E when we build a chord, which we do by skipping a note. E, F sharp, we're skipping G sharp, we're going to skip the A, we play the B, we're going to skip anything to do with C, or well, in this case C sharp, because we're in the key of A, and we're going to use the D, and there's our E dominant 7. However, when we play a B7, when we do the same thing from B, we're going to get a B, a D sharp, an F sharp, and an A. So the D sharp, that's not in the key of A. But what it is in the key of is E. Okay, that D sharp with those other notes, okay, particularly with the A in there as well. Okay, it's very hard to play that in a straight line. So we get all those notes. It actually belongs to the key of E. So by playing a B7, this is the important part, guys, it actually kind of pitches your ear towards an E. And an E7 will pitch your ear towards an A, okay, as a dominant chord. That's kind of what dominant chords do, because dominant chords are unique in every key. So in the key of A, you'll only find one dominant 7 chord, and that will be E. And in the key of E, you'll only find one dominant 7 chord, and it will be a B dominant 7. So being a unique chord, it actually kind of tells you what key you're in, or points you in the direction of the root note of that key. So when we play an F sharp 7, that actually pushes us to a B. The B7 creates a push towards an E, and because we're playing an E dominant 7 or E7, same thing, that pushes us to A. So that's what's happening with this progression, guys. How to actually add those to your progression is really up to you. Play around with the 1-4-5 and see if you can find an opportunity to use a B7 to set up your E, or maybe try using an F sharp 7 to set up your B7. Okay? This is getting into the territory of jazz, and this is one of the big differences between blues and jazz. Now, one of the really cool things about doing this is that improvising becomes a little bit more challenging, but the good news is we can take a blues approach to this, and whatever concepts we're using over A7, D7, and E7, we can simply place over a B7. So for example, if you're using A pentatonic over the A, you can do that on a B, no problems. Then we go to the E, maybe we do it up here, for clarity's sake, and do the same thing. Blues scale, I have some videos on this, so check the link below. I'll put the link for it, playing over a blues progression, playing over a Rockabilly Blues and stuff like that. So I like to use the Mixolydian Scale and add the minor third. I just did that automatically there. So 1, 2, minor third, major third. There's the flat 7. So that's kind of the database I like to pull my notes from, and I end up doing stuff like that. That's the sort of stuff I like to do, and then a little bit of pentatonics, a little bit of blues scale, and it all rolls together. Again, I have a video on that, so worth checking out. So what I'm trying to say is, over that chord, using that concept, we can just reapply it over B. So I'm going to play over the 2 chord, the 5 chord, and the 1 chord, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, then I'm going to go to the 5 chord, and then we're going to come back to our 1 chord. Same deal with the 6 chord. We can play, here's an F sharp 7, okay? I'll play it back here, a little easier to understand what I'm doing theoretically. So I could use minor pentatonic there, blues, and then I like to throw the major third in. Again, you're going to have to check out that other video. I didn't want to make this video all about improvising, a little bit of a combination of things. But, so yeah, if you've got a concept you like using over a blues chord or a dominant 7 chord, just use it over each one, and it's going to work really well. So we've got the F sharp 7, bit bluesy there, B7, bit more rockabilly, E7, my classic rockabilly licks that I like to use there, and then we're back to the A. So I just use the same concept over everything. I could even use minor pentatonic over each one. That would be totally fine. But I have a really cool scale that I want to show you that will separate you a little bit from other players, and it sounds really cool. So on the F sharp chord, what we can actually do is kind of just take the important part of the F sharp chord, the part that gives it its tension, which in this case is the A sharp. So we've got F sharp, A sharp, we've got an E there. Okay, I've missed something there. What have I skipped? The 5th, the C sharp as well. So in this chord, I know there's an F sharp, I know there's an A sharp, I know there's a C sharp and an E. The only note there that's outside the key of A is the A sharp. So there's a really cool little scale you can play, and it goes like this. So we've got, if I just play it from A, you might know the bass player's playing over the F sharp. But you can use this scale here. So it goes A, B flat, or A sharp, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A. And that's the scale. So, and if we play the next octave, we go to the A sharp, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, I'm having to think now, yep, G, A sharp, C sharp, okay. I had to write a little cheat note there because I always mess that scale up. I really, to be honest, I think about A sharp. So I'm here. I just make sure I'm playing. And then the rest of the notes kind of, I play different every time, to be honest. Which shows there's a little bit of wiggle room there as well. But I wanted to give you guys something a little bit more ordered. So that's a great little scale to use over the 6 chord if you get the opportunity. Certainly the Western swing guys, they were all over that stuff. They were really on top of that stuff because they were jazz players playing, you know, a lot of blues-based things that did eventually evolve. Now, on the 2 chord or the B, so we can use our pentatonic, B minor pentatonic. We could use all the Mixolydian bass ideas I talk about, my Rockabilly Scale type things. But a really cool scale that I like to use here is a scale called, I don't remember what it's called now, Mixolydian Flat Six. So this one looks like this. Okay, and we can also so that scale there, the reason I really like that scale is you use a G natural, which often in the blues progression, the melody or the singing or guitar part might use a lot of pentatonic stuff. And so that G natural, and I know too that when we come back to an A7, we're often pedaling that G natural in there. So when I play that B7, it kind of makes reference to that G natural if I play the G in there, and we get that really tense sound. So by including that in a Mixolydian scale, you can build on that tension. There it is, the G natural. There it is again. Then we go to the E7 chord, and I'm just using the Mixolydian type concepts, and then we're back to A. Okay, so there's first an expansion of your 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord. Okay, things that you can try experimenting and using, and some ideas on how to improvise over them. Obviously, nothing particularly new using previous concepts I've talked about, but on the 2 chord and the 6 chord, we can definitely apply an interesting scale. So guys, I'll tab the Mixolydian Flat Six and the scale that I played over the F sharp chord. I'm not even sure what that was actually, I've forgotten now. That was a Phrygian major third. Yeah, very interesting scale. Definitely Phrygian major third. So I'll put that on the Patreon. You guys can check that out. And if you're not a member, grab yourself a pen and paper and copy it. That's totally cool. But please do hit like and subscribe. Check out my other videos. And guys, while you're here, if you've come this far, consider jumping on the Patreon if you're not a member. And yeah, you can also grab some merch if you want to support the channel. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you in the next one.